everyone, and welcome to August episode of SEO Talk. I have to say that in the Netherlands, we have an extreme heat. I'm just dying. Well, sadly, I don't have an air condition, but right now the wind is blowing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, today we'd love to discuss with our guests how to predict SEO performance, right? And that is a very, very challenging topic. It was most probably, quite challenging before the age of AI summarized results, but now it's even more complex. As usual, I'll ask our guests to introduce themselves before we dive into our engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Natalia, thank you very much for joining us today. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Alex, for having me. And of course, I'm happy to introduce myself for those who don't know me. I'm Natalia Witczyk, and I'm an international SEO consultant based in Barcelona. I work for myself in a consultancy called Mosquita.Digital.
Hi, Martina. Thank you for joining us. Martina is actually our social media manager, so I really appreciate you joining us. Okay, Carmen, what about you? Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Carmen. I'm the director of organic growth. I only started this job recently, and I work for.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Exciting times.
I work for Witczyk, and we do fitness apps. So it's all different fitness, but we try to put together the whole user experience from the web to the app, and obviously ranking from both ASO and SEO, which is quite exciting.
Okay, well, being honest, I hate fitness. Well, I do horse riding, but whenever, I hear the word fitness, I'm just like, gosh, I need to go to a gym or whatever. And I hate running as well. So really, that is not my cup of tea.
But horse riding is also a sport, right? So
yeah, it is. It can be counted, but it's not really so, in terms of calories, muscles. It's not like that. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today, Carmen, and hi, Isaac. Thank you very much for joining us. Stanislav, I know that you're based in Bulgaria, right? And actually, you're the lucky one. You're on a seashore, right?
Yes, yeah. Hi, Alex, and hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, at the moment I am based in Bulgaria, but I'm originally from Slovakia, and I work as a SEO specialist for Watergraph.
Thank you very much, Stanislav, for joining us. So let me start with a kind of an icebreaker, I'd say, right? Well, when do you think about forecasting SEO results? How confident you are about that? How do you feel about that? Let me start with Carmen. She's really noting, so I know that she has the right answer for us.
I mean, it really depends on what type of forecasting you're trying to do. In my opinion, it's way easier to do forecasting, for example, for an e-commerce than for a software or SaaS type of website, just because it's easier to forecast conversions. The messy middle or the whole user experience journey for SaaS is way more complex. But depending on where you work, forecasting, you do it at the very beginning, right? When you start in a strategy, you're choosing the keywords that you want to focus based on the opportunity, and then you start doing forecasting. How difficult it is, I'm sure that we're going to get into it in a minute. Definitely it's becoming more and more difficult as we go. Remember when I started and I used to be, keyword, conversion rates, average order value, boom, forecast. And now it's not that. But yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this. Am I right that typically you would add, right, the growth of, let's say, organic traffic in this report and, conversion associated with, right, this, let's say, growth?
Depending on what you are trying to forecast, obviously the easier from an organic perspective is forecasting traffic, right? But whenever you are bringing traffic to the site, you can also try to forecast conversions based on conversion rates. Again, easier to do on an e-commerce than in any other type of website. And if you work in-house, I'm thinking when I used to work in my protein and look fantastic, and you need to report to people like high up, they're always only going to care about conversion. So more than likely it's going to be different.
Yeah, no, I feel your pain. Yeah, it's really like that. Well, what about you, Natalia? What are your current feelings about the focusing, right, about SEO traffic performance, SEO channel on a general note?
I 100% agree with Carmen. I think the industry that you are in really makes it different to forecast. But I also think that it really depends if you are an external consultant like myself, or if you're actually in-house, because it depends how much ownership you have over the strategy and implementation. So I always find it super difficult because there's always so many unknowns on the client side, and so many clients would actually do things that are against SEO, but for different internal, political, whatever reasons, that can actually hinder the SEO effort. So on top of the difficulty with the forecasting have become more difficult in SEO in general, there's also this external factor. So I really struggle to give accurate forecasting, but I always am upfront about it. I always tell my clients that forecasting, if someone is promising you anything, they're definitely wrong. And I try to be very, very cautious with what I forecast and how I forecast my SEO traffic goals.
It's true, actually.
Later.
On that, because when you are in-house, it's easy because you control the strategy and the implementation. But actually, when you are external or an agency, you might forecast for 6 or 1 year, month. But if no one implements,
and then the client needed to move somewhere or their pages. That's actually what happened with us. They were like, they told us like, we want to build links to these pages. Then we were like, someone is clicking there for. They were like, And there is no longer a blog there because they was like, we forgot about that. We just decided to rebuild the whole website, just working on that.
We forgot to tell you.
No worries. It was like,
exactly. So that's my experience with forecasting as an external person. Always super cautious, extra cautious than any SEO would be anyway.
Yeah, well, it's always right. Whenever you're not really in house, it's quite hard because I would say, after working in-house, after working for so long, right, as an agency operating, I have to say that a lot of things are actually affecting your organic traffic. And nowadays, your brand element is also quite a big factor. If you do some offline activities, like, for instance, events, you will kind of see also, a correlation and growth of your organic traffic. And also, if you're quite weak on your brand element, you don't really invest into running your social media platforms, some events, doesn't matter, online, offline, whatever, right? So your marketing, I would say, is quite weak. Then, it's also contributing significantly to your organic traffic growth. So, and since Stanislav, you're also in-house, right? And you work actually for a tool. Tell us about focusing, right? Let's say like organic traffic from Google Search. How confident do you feel about this nowadays?
Yeah, so just build up on what was already said. Like, it was funny when I saw the topic of this talk, because I was like, we were just like working on it in past like 2-3 weeks.
Awesome.
We were changing.
So we
were like
the right moment.
Yeah. We were like kind of like changing our whole strategy because SEO is one of the strongest source of pipeline, creating pipeline for our SaaS startup. And I work in-house, as you mentioned. Traffic is important, but the right traffic is also more important. And probably we're going to speak a bit more about it later. But what is most important for my VP of marketing or for our CEO is to see like how many leads we are bringing or how much pipeline we are building, not only traffic. Like, okay, traffic is nice. Like, it's nice to make a post about it on LinkedIn or on Twitter, X, whatever we can call it. But at the end of the day, the most important is how much of MQLS we build, how many leads are bringing, how much of pipeline we are building. So that was very important for us, and like more important to predict than just like predicting only traffic, let's say.
Yeah, well, obviously, right? Everyone wants money, first
Exactly,
of all, right? So, so you can reinvest them, you can grow actually, right? Because if you can't really make money, then you almost probably you're stuck. Your business is not really growing, and it's a quite horrible situation, I would say. So
So So I saw like one post on LinkedIn actually, and they were like talking about like traffic value. I was like, okay, like that's a nice that traffic value in Ahrefs is growing, but like at the end of the day, if you are not bringing like right people on your website, like this like metric at the end of the day means nothing, to be honest.
Yeah, just a vanity metric, right? Another vanity metric, like domain authority, right? But you can't really, I mean, like maybe if you want to sell your website, you can try to make something out of this. But if you want to sell your business, right? I mean, like some other things, assets. So if you're not selling websites, it's quite hard to actually use this as a selling point. Indeed. Yeah, and I just want to ask, right, about AI summarized, right, result that we see right now in Google search, and how much they've really affected the process of focusing, right, SEO results, SEO performance. What do you think, Natalia, about this?
So here I have to mention a fantastic tool from fellow Poland, which is ZipTie, which is a tool that actually tracks AI overviews and percentages of AI overviews for many, many queries. And they found, in a very recent study, they found that it's mostly the informational queries that bring the AI overviews in big percentage. And if you thought about any business-related money queries, to simplify it, it's not even 2% of all AI overviews showing for that. And I found it super interesting because just what Stanislav mentioned, what keywords, what value they bring. I think here we have the answer. I think AI overviews will not be a threat to those business queries where there is a commercial intent, just because Google doesn't know how to monetize it yet. So I'm not saying it's going to stay like this, but so far what we've seen is Google doesn't monetize the money queries yet in AI overviews. So
no, just because of advertising. They know how to monetize it, because then they will be actually killing the other revenue industry. So I think it's also, money keywords will be always like for Google ads, right? Because there is a short way of converting them and getting money out of your pockets.
Yeah, and especially when you have client conversations, you should definitely mention percentage of tools and not just your opinion that it doesn't concern your business, your niche, but actually go back to the data and find it in the sources, right? And share the sources. So for now, we shouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, okay. Got it. I have a question to you, Natalia. One of our listeners is just asking the pronunciation of the tool, right, that you mentioned.
Exactly. ZipTie.dev. That's the tool.
Okay, cool. Then here is the answer. And Carmen, what do you think about that? How do you, see the process of focusing whenever it comes to AI summarized, right, overviews?
For me, to be honest, forecasting has been changing for a while. It's not just AI overviews, because I think in the last 2 years, which actually it is quite linked to AI overviews, the SERPs have changed a lot, and they have changed really, really fast. And before AI overviews came, also lots of snippets were trying to take the SERPs and taking away clicks from you. So it has changed in the way that I don't have such an accurate forecasting as I used to have once upon a time. But again, nothing that it wasn't changing for a bit. What I do, two things. What Natalia says, I agree. Most of the things I've seen that has been effective is long form content, and that means most of the time blog content, which unfortunately lots of SEOs for a long time have been focusing too much on. And I think there are lots of people who have been affected by this loss of traffic from AI overviews. And I've seen it particularly in the last 2-3 weeks that in the UK has been ramping up really, really fast, AI overviews, even outside Search Labs. But in the last 1 year, 2 years, I have changed my focus to monitoring more CTR rather than rankings, because rankings, yes, they fluctuate, and sometimes they don't really tell the full story, because you might be ranking in a position 1-2, but your CTR is really low because the snippets or now AI overviews is taking over the information. So monitoring this CTR is kind of going to tell you how much SERPs or AI overview is taken away from you. And it can tell you as well where to focus your time better, which is in this traffic that we keep talking about being the right traffic, being the traffic that actually converts. And then obviously something that it has changed from me a lot, and I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time.
No problem. Take your time.
I started also monitoring other parts of Google, all the Google environments. So the other filters like shopping, images. Now, sometimes in Google Search Console, you can see translated content that has been popping up as well. I try to also monitor that because actually, I think people don't necessarily just use Google Web. They don't like so much heavy ads. They get confused sometimes and overwhelmed, and they go in the filters. So I try to, when monitoring and forecasting, also include those parts. And in fact, I've been focusing quite a lot in Google Images and Google Shopping, Google Merchant Center recently, which obviously applies mostly to e-commerce. I think those are the things I have changed the most. And after that, I actually can even share a spreadsheet with you, Alex, if you want to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, you can share it with us, and we can do a roundup post after live, and then include the spreadsheet. That will be brilliant, actually. So our listeners can see what kind of metric they need to include, and how to actually structure this report.
It's a very simple one. People don't get excited. I'm going to give you lots of formula and super complicated one, but it kind of explains the logic of how to do top level forecasting. But yeah, I gave a lot of information in 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
No worry. Thank you very much, Carmen, for sharing this. I think it's quite important actually to look for diversification, of your organic traffic, and look through images, some other sources, because they seem to bring more stability, to your, to your report, to your focus, because they have less moving elements. And what about you, Stanislav? How do you approach SEO focusing nowadays?
So I want to just follow up what Carmen mentioned about the pictures, because it's not only for e-commerce, I would say. It's like kind of touch every page. Even for us, we weren't even predicted or like forecasting it, but we optimize our pictures with alt texts and like the names of the pictures, and we double on picture search, which was like we didn't even expect like something big out of it, or like we didn't even forecast. So like future snippets are very important nowadays as well. In our like niche, I would say like I don't see that much like about AI overview. So like it's not like that much worrying me at the moment, but I'm sure we will get there, and we will need to worry like for more niches. But like at the moment, it's not that like every environment like niche should like worry about it. But what I was worrying like recently about, also mentioning infinity scrolling. Like I don't know if you
there is no longer pagination.
Exactly. So like Carmen mentioned about like CTR, and I can see the difference in CTRs, that like when there was like infinity scrolling, people was like scrolling more, and like even when you were on lower positions, we were getting like more clicks. Now when like last month, I think like end of June or July or something like that, Google decided like to go back on the pages like first, second, third, and the CTR dropped. So that's what would worry me at the moment more, to be honest.
So it's basically So, Google tried infinity scrolling, but then circled back to the previous version when we have, the particular pages. And am I right that you noticed a decline, in organic traffic?
Me too.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I saw the like statement from the Google, and they say that they decided like to go back because apparently they weren't giving like people the search they wanted, but like I don't think so that's the right.
Well, I think it's all about Google AdWords. I'll tell
Exactly.
Yeah, just like because
like these
for me
fluffy
it was
things.
also it was very confusing when it was this infinity search, and I wasn't really seeing very much, whenever you look at these blocks, the block with ad results, it wasn't really separated from organic results whenever you have this one. But now you kind of obviously see the real estate of ads, which is in the footer, which is above, which is sometimes, on the, on the sides. So it's way more structured, and as a result, users, click more, most probably.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I just have a question for you, Stanislav, right?
Go for it.
Since, you've mentioned about risk diversification, right? And I just want to ask about some other sources of organic traffic, right? If AI overuse will be more, let's say, like more visible, right? Appearing more frequently in your niche. What are the next steps do you think your company should take, right, when it comes to generating organic or, let's say, free traffic?
Organic, you want only about like organic traffic, right? Like not
about free, because we can say nowadays we have free and paid traffic, and we used to call organic, actually, the free traffic is actually organic one in my understanding, right? But we can say just free traffic to make it more generic.
So for example, what we see sometimes when people see like put in the forum where they heard about us, they put sometimes like ChatGPT, which is like very interesting to see that we are appearing in the search when someone search for marketing reporting tool or like marketing reporting platform, something like that. So maybe I would see there a potential for optimizing somehow or like hacking somehow ChatGPT, so it will give the recommendation of your tool or platform or whatever once people start like asking about the recommendations.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, a very challenging task, because sometimes even developers don't know how this AI script works.
Exactly. But like I was surprised.
Like, educating itself, and each news cycle brings something new, and you have no idea, from the starting point till, whenever you are in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. But I was really surprised that like it didn't happen only once. It was like few times mentioned in the forum that people say like the first time I heard about you was ChatGPT. I was like, okay, like.
I think I heard a lot of people saying that recently, and I think it's where digital PR plays a big role, or having good press plays a good role, right? Because the more different websites mention your brand, the more chances you have to actually show up in.
That's the reason why link building matters, but in a different way. But in a different way.
Yeah, among many things. I mean, obviously, as much as Google likes saying no, links don't matter, they do matter, and digital PR matters. But I think this is another way to look at it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But Carmen, right? I just have the same question as I just had for Stanislav, right? About diversification, the risk. What kind of other, source of traffic would you consider, right? If not traffic from Google Search?
So for me, I think it might be easier to answer that question because I oversee organic overall, not just SEO, which SEO is a big part, but places where I've seen quite a lot of good traffic coming from is obviously Reddit. Forums are picking up quite a lot, and Reddit has spiked massively in the last time. Also Quora and different websites that they own their own forums. We can see that they are performing better. So forum is definitely one of them, although please don't abuse Reddit. I've seen a lot of people putting lots of comments and links to the websites, and they end up being a bit spammy. But yeah, that is one of them. But also social media. I think Pinterest, again, I keep talking about e-commerce because spoiler alert.
But that is also interesting, right? Because a lot of people actually works for the e-commerce niche.
Yeah, but also actually even for apps, Pinterest is we take a lot of traffic from Pinterest, and Pinterest.
Oh, really? For fitness, for the fitness niche as well? I thought like Instagram should be actually
as well
being strong, really wrong.
Instagram and TikTok, but you will be surprised about the amount of people that go and see images because I don't know, they're sitting doing apps and they don't know if they're doing the right app and they don't have time to put the video, or they cannot because they are in the gym and they're embarrassed, so they go and see pictures. Same for e-commerce. Oh, I want to see how these shoes go well with what type of t-shirt. So you can actually get quite a lot of referral traffic from Pinterest. And even in Pinterest, you can rank it, right? And you can do internal linking, and you can end up showing up in Google Images. So that and YouTube are the places that's.
Oh yeah, for sure. YouTube seems to be because you wanna, see the videos, right?
Yeah, YouTube is massive. But if you don't think about video, because not everyone has money to make videos, Pinterest is also a good one.
But I just wanted to ask something, right? Maybe you, Carmen and Natalia have the question for this, right? Now we have a priority on the written content because AI overviews, they're just sharing the written content. But a lot of topics like fitness, e-commerce, they're all about actually real videos. And now it seems like YouTube is no longer there. And I'm just curious, right? Do you think it's kind of the trend will continue on this written content? And then the question is, what's the place of videos nowadays? Because it seems like, for instance, Instagram is all about videos. Facebook is also all about videos, short videos, long videos, right? And so on. But Google is taking a completely different direction.
I mean, to be honest, Google makes a lot of money from YouTube because we need to remember Google owns YouTube. And
for sure.
It's one of the main revenue drivers, and where they're bidding the most on ads is because they make a lot of money from there. Oh, I think big players, companies that are big and have the budgets to bet on video, they will be in the ones winning because users prefer video. Users don't have the time to be reading content. And I think probably that's why Google doesn't care so much about AI overviews and people complaining, because they know that the users might not spend so much time reading the content, unfortunately. And that's why this is a call out for all the SEOs out there. We need to obviously still do written content because that's the way that Google will understand your page, but also videos and other different type of content. Content is just beyond only written content.
Yeah, and it seems like, you can also generate traffic from YouTube, right?
Yeah, you can.
That might be a different source of traffic, which is another search engine. A little bit, we forgot about it a little bit, right? But it seems to be one more search engine where you can rank, generate traffic, and actually you can also effectively promote your brand, right?
Mm. I'm not sure, Natalia, I'm not sure if you have seen video, because also video pop-ups more in web. So even in Google Web. Yeah.
I mean, especially since Google is able to actually transcript. I mean, YouTube is doing that, transcribing everything that's there. So they can really organize that content very well and then get you to the specific part of the video. So I think for one, they will never kill that option because that opens a whole new doors. I remember back in the day where we used to transcribe videos and write the transcription below the video on our page so Google could actually read it. I mean, we don't have to do it anymore, and Google is happy about that. But also, I think, YouTube is definitely its own search engine in its own right. And if you produce content, you definitely optimize for YouTube itself. Not to even mention there's search volumes for YouTube as a search engine. So there's possibilities to optimize it completely separately. I don't personally work much with video. Many of my clients are B2B, which is a bit of a different approach. They're not as, let's say, wide audience. Some of them do video, but it's very specialized, specific, and not as much of a trending topics. But I do agree there's certain industries that just have to be there in video. There's no way they can just skip that part of marketing and be as visible as they used to be.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree. And it just a lovely comment too, Natalia. Compliment to you, so everyone can see it. And I just think like we have a few more minutes left, right? And I think it will be great to a little bit wrap up this really, really nice conversation. And I would love to ask you, Carmen, right? So what will be your kind of biggest takeaway, right, about our today topic? And also, how can our listeners connect with you?
I think the biggest takeaway is that definitely forecasting is really difficult, but it's going to continue being something that people ask you for. So we need to consider when we put forecasting the possibility of how much is going to happen. Like Natalia said, we need to caveat everything and say this forecasting will happen if this happen at the same time. And we also need to consider all the different channels and the different filters within Google in order to forecast properly. I also think sometimes forecasting is inevitable because in order for you to get a budget, you do need the forecasting. So, but also let's forget about vanity KPIs and focus more on conversion. That was a very long takeaway, but this I think is my main takeaway. And connect with me, as I said, well, everyone can follow me on LinkedIn, and I'm going to be sharing that spreadsheet either through you, most probably. And
you can just share it after, right, the end of our session. So guys, please make sure to follow Carmen. She will make sure to share it on her LinkedIn. I will just repost it, right? So you won't miss it at any point.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. What about you, Natalia? What will be your biggest takeaway?
I would say it's really difficult time to forecast. And one thing that wasn't said yet, but I think it's important to say, is we have to realize if we're talking about SEO debt, or are we talking about proactive SEO? Because it's two different things. If you get a website that's never been optimized, something completely else can happen, and you can forecast huge growth from technical stuff. If, on the other hand, you're increasing on already amazing results, it will be so hard to break through and do so much more suddenly. So taking into account how much has been done in the past, and be realistic about what you can achieve. And clients and stakeholders appreciate honesty. So just be upfront and say why you are forecasting this way and why you are so cautious. And usually with my clients, it really sits very well because they feel they trust me. They don't feel like they are overpromised things that will never be delivered. That's my takeaway. Don't overpromise and everything will be fine. And please find me on LinkedIn. That's my favorite tool now. I don't use the other platform I'm not going to even mention.
Okay, so please make sure to follow Natalia on LinkedIn because that's her favorite platform. Okay, Stanislav, tell us about your biggest takeaway.
Yeah, so I agree what was mentioned already, and I would just add that forecasting is important, but without execution, it's just wasting of time. So like once like you predict, and don't take like all the forecasting is like exact prediction. You need to take it with a pinch of salt because you're never gonna to put it like 100%. You should also like communicate it this way to your stakeholders or like who is above you, and then just set the priorities. Go from the highest to the middle to the low, and don't focus, for example, on low. Even if you think that something is like high priority, once you forecast it, you can see that something is much more higher priority than, and some of them is lower priority. So that would be my takeaway.
So be flexible, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people can find me on the LinkedIn. Like I'm pretty active there, posting once in a while when I have time. I am trying to do like pretty often, but I'm doing quality over quantity, let's say, because a lot of people are nowadays doing a lot of only quantity. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for such a lovely conversation. It was a pleasure being with you here today. And yeah, thank you very much, our listeners, for joining us today, for all your questions. Well, actually, guys, we had a few questions, right, on LinkedIn that we didn't have time to pick up. But if you can go there, right, and just answer them, I would really highly appreciate this. As for now, I believe that is very much it, and hope to see you at one of our upcoming episodes, right? And Natalia, see you at our meetup in Amsterdam. Right?
Yeah, I can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and wishing you a very nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Bye.